Hey, right back at you, TRU7H, continuing the reptilian talk. But yeah, I guess that's a little bit more religious based info with reptilians. There's so much more I can give. I'm just spitting and going, giving information right on the go. I, I guess something else excuse me, something else I can touch on with the reptilian and how it applies to you and more proof of it that could be convincing or whatever. Oh, I'm looking at a dragon right now. It's it's pretty cool. Yeah, I was reading about feng shui and having a dragon in your house and everything. It's a good thing to do. Any kind of statue, but even dragons, like the fact of these so many mystical creatures and how prominent the reptilian creature is within world society, culture, reality in general. Because well, that's for a reason. But all of it, it's and then it's already been proven that dragons exist. You can even search the stuff. They did exist. They do exist. And this, like I was talking about with the dinosaur era and all that. Knowing that there have been other civilizations prehistoric to ours, and there's been so many uh, changes of different consciousness of beings. Even within this plane, it's everywhere. Most because the infinite universe is infinite. Like life is everywhere. It's been different existences and whatnot. But within this reality, through history and how it's been swayed going for forever, nothing's new under the sun. There were other, obviously conscious, upright, standing beings within those times, and that was a pivotal point within human existence where it coexistence in reality like that couldn't go on forever. It had to be changes. It had to be molding in everything to happen. So that's goes into humans and dinosaurs not coexisting because it's like, okay, well, just put the motherfuckers together then. So essentially, that's it. Um, so you can control. But what else? And all this information stuff you can look up on your own. You can also go 13 Signs Astrology. They go into detail. So Brett, the first guy I mentioned, David Icke, he that's his specialty, metaphysicist, theorist, all of that stuff. But he he goes in detail. Search up David Icke. As a matter of fact, he when I was talking about self like realized, he's obviously consciously realized he's into it because he gets people, yogi monks, Moors, no matter what the presentation be, but higher conscious human beings within the street have an understanding who can channel and have a connection to other consciousness, which means other beings and other things, and how they get the information what they need to do to carry out orders in the world and many other things, and with their personal agendas. Um, um, like I was saying, these people are self-realized, or you can different meanings of ways of reaching Christ conscious. Um, and like I said, there's many ways to get to it. It's just not one set way. There are different practices and techniques and things you can do to because there you do have a vehicle and there's a way to fine tune your vehicle, which goes in certain exercises, yoga, certain stretches, and things you eat, everything, because they'll go into the more lighter being that you are, because these other consciousness are obviously higher consciousness than humans because they know more on a universal unified conscious level of being. So and how they manifest, and they're obviously just higher beings, so they're more lighter and more conscious, and that goes into there are some beings that are just created, and reptilians are one. There's races of reptilians that don't necessarily have a they have a certain type of soul energy in them to carry out a direct order with whether high polarity positive intent or low polarity negative intent. But when it gets to when I was saying how some of them are created, and I was speaking on the entertainment industry and a lot of that, and the newscast. That's why 90% of the news is not real, it's fake. But you have to you have to think about that they have to literally they have to pick and choose what they're going to put on TV and distribute out. So that in itself is intent and conscious within messages to send out, whether it be fake or real. In fact, there's a reality to it because it's there and it's relevant if it's happening or not. So when with newscasts, and this can be debunked and has been debunked and proved with many things, because if you understand how light works, you can search on YouTube or Google it, how that can be broken down, how when you ever see people's faces morphing on TV and everything, that's basically usually more or not some type of humanoid or reptilians, for the matter of their cloaking device, their technology failing, or the certain light frequency rays don't match up with their frequency wave, and it gets distorted, and it starts to mold and melt, and basically in a way, and you begin to see the true image. So that happens on TV, and they try to cover it up a lot, but I mean, pretty much because some people just catch it. But you can go view that, study frequencies and light, and then get to understand how that works. But that's something that is within media. Basically, they're work. Obviously, they have to work through that, and that trails into different branches of what most people know as Illuminati. And then, as you know, everything's inconclusive. Everything is due with intent, and then even within one order or one organization, all the teams can still have the same intent and different intents. So when it gets to the subject of Illuminati, you have to understand that there are branches to it and there are levels to it. And within those, if we're speaking of the higher levels, it's obviously the higher the levels, the more fantastic, I'm going to say, or fantasy like, the more mystical, the more, some people will say the word scary or dark. That's basically what it gets. You go higher into space, the more dark into the stars you get. So of course you're gonna see extraterrestrial things. So when it gets to those higher levels, that's when those beings are right there centered directly, pulling in the people who are within them unconsciously or even consciously. It's like they're feeding the message, feeding the people what they need to sway their reality and sway their lives. So that's a good touch on that with reptilians, and to touch back on birth, creation in general. With creation, even when you look at the sperm is serpent. So it once it comes in, it creates, it molds the creative feminine energy, and reptilian energy is all matter, material, figuring out measurements, scales, and grids and constriction. And that even echoes through when you look at other religions rather than Western. But in general, still, the representations of things are always going to be there in religion for a reason. But we look at the more spiritually based religions, they go into the things about being in tune, which is why in Western, where they try to keep away from that, and more in tune with your energies that you are going to have, that you can use to your benefit. The Kundalini and many other bases of these, yoga and all that stuff. All that, these stances are snake inherent techniques that make the vehicle activate and do cool stuff and all that. So, and that's thing it can do. It can. That's one way it can do more. Because grades have there's so many different techniques to learn stuff. But it's just the fact that the molding and manipulation that's part of the reptilian inherent inner brain ego type mentality. So as I was saying, in the process of even birth, when you look at the first being that things are going to start off as, you start off as a reptile. As soon as your organs are formed and you uncoil within the egg, everything goes. You look to a little lizard form, and after the lizard form comes the gray form, and then even between that's the whole metamorphosis of the being materially manifested in the reality, even though the conscious form being put into it, wherever energies of numbers that those things project out into the organ and everything, going starting with the Fibonacci code, all of that, and all that goes into scaling and measurements. And that's what the reptilian is about. So that's a quick hit on a great way you can see in this visual, like see like, oh well, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. No, that makes sense. I guess something else. What's some more I could put on? I'm gonna do probably another video where I'm way more discreet and just using every word. For the most part right now, I'm just trying to let you know, like, hey, these are the facts. This is what it is. These are what's put out for you, and this is information as to be known. So, what's some? I guess I'm trying to think of another way. So many that I can hit you with it. I already said your skin when you look at all of that, and then oh yeah, even green. When you think about the color green, green represents many things. Represents like recycle energy. Represents greed, regeneration, money. It represents everything that the reptiles bound. Basically, essentially what the human mind, manipulated mind is about. And green is this is the weird thing, cool thing about green. Green is it's in the middle of the color scale. It's the most vibrant colors that we can notice and that we do see. And it's also within the chakras, is represented within the sacral chakra, because that's basically the animalistic kind of instinct, the everything that has to do with a serpentine energy goes into your sacral chakra, and that's the chakra right after the root, right after the root, and roots have to do with natural energy. After that natural stability within a plane comes basically the self part, everything about self going through the sacral, and then I'm gonna talk about the sacral chakra in another video, but I guess even this is a cool with the color scale thing. If you ever look at mirrors and a mirror within a mirror within a mirror, where you're just staring down, it's like the reflection bouncing off. The color of a mirror is even green, because like I said, it's in the middle of the color scale. So even when you're looking in the mirror, and as you get further down, the color that you see is green, because that's light bending to its essential middle, where the green hue will light from even clearness hitting each other with light. But which can go into how much the holographic works with how Earth represents green, how vegetation and regeneration is still hooking into the material makeup, dealing with reptilian characteristics. But as far as much as you need to know, the agenda of reptilians is just mainly control for how they want stuff to be. But there are other beings on many other levels that attest and send different energies into this plane, and everything's connected. So there are things going on in a whole nother dimension or level, or someone that you're connected with, not even on this plane, that's happening, is reacting to how things go on here. Certain interactions you have are all because of what you can call angels. They say angels or whatever beings that are helping you get through stuff, and they're experiencing stuff in the same way as everything has a cause and effect, and everything that goes and to some, they even connects, like I said, with the flame and everything, how the law of observation and the string theory, it's not theories, are proven facts of how stuff works metaphysically. So I hate using the word theory. Everything's a theory. So once it's, that goes into, I'm gonna do another video after this, which goes basically speaking of relevancy and of why this stuff can is even here. It's basically what every metaphysicist and spiritualist talks about. But I think I'm gonna end it there for a baseline talk about reptilians. Um, yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. This is the Voyager TRU7. All right, stay tuned for the Why Alien video.